So, I grew up in the Olympic Peninsula, and I, as a child, spent a lot of time outside. As a teenager, my solace to get away from my problems was to go up to a place called Hurricane Ridge, which is in the Olympic Mountains. Port Angeles is mountains to see in moments. Although it was one of the most beautiful places in the world, I could not wait to leave. And when I left, I went to school in Seattle and found myself again always seeking the solace of the trees and the forests, and did a lot of backpacking and hiking. So the trees have just always been a part of me. I don't think there's a specific moment where I fell in love with trees. They've just always been a part of me. Near the end of my first 4 years of college, I realized I really wanted to work with children, so I took a year off after graduating and went back and became a teacher, which I liked. I can't say I loved it because I wasn't outside enough, and got married and headed over and lived 5 years in Eastern Washington, where there are very, very, very few trees, and I couldn't wait to get back. Came back to Portland 30-some years ago, and realized I couldn't teach in a classroom anymore. I needed to find something that got me outside, and back to the trees. I was back on my side of the state where it's green and wet, and I found my Talk About Trees job, and now I'm very lucky to spend many days outside with children and trees. So I think I have a unique perspective growing up as a rural Northwesterner, and now living in a city by choice. I like living in Portland. I like living in Portland and teaching the kids in Portland because they don't know as much as a lot of the rural kids that I grew up with, and there's so much I could get to share. My love of trees, my knowledge of the forestry industry, which is something that doesn't get talked about a lot in the urban areas, and I hope I can share with kids that there are opportunities that go beyond just the hiking and recreation part of the forest, that there are jobs and there are people who work in the forest who love the forest, and the forest brings into our world so many different aspects, and in the city sometimes we forget that. So I hope that I bridge some of that with the kids that I meet, and the adults that I meet as well. A lot of people in the city love the woods. It's just that they don't experience the woods on a daily basis like our rural friends, I guess I would say, who live it. So people from the city have a different perspective. They see the woods more as a place to recreate, maybe not so much to work. I've been the program director of Talk About Trees since 1993. I used to teach in a classroom, and I was looking for something different when we moved from Eastern Washington to Portland. And I interviewed to be a tree teacher. And at the end of the interview, I was asked if I'd like to be the director of the program, and I said no. And then I went home and thought about, if I'm not the director, that means I'm going to have a boss. And so I said yes, and I've been doing this ever since. A big part of my identity that I am a woman who knows the woods. To teach something, you have to learn it. And I came into this world loving the outdoors, but not really knowing anything about it. So it's many years of listening, asking questions, reading, getting some things wrong, and never stopping exploration. I love finding new places in the Northwest. I'm always amazed at the variety of hikes and campgrounds and experiences from coast to desert that we get living in this wonderful corner of the world. I just am very grateful that fate tossed me into this job out of the classroom and into the trees. So, yeah.